stand your ground. This is just like pre-talk show before the live stream starts here. So yeah. Yeah, I'm just writing some notes in here because I have a lot of questions, and I mean, if anybody knows the answers, you can tell me, but just questions I'll probably reach out to the Amplify team because Amplify is a great framework, but if you don't know how to utilize or you don't understand the underlying infrastructure, it's hard to make some of these technical choices, eh? And by the way, if anybody actually has a question, I'll probably add it to my list and then I'll go reach out and find out the answer. Hey Alexander, thanks for joining the stream. Hey Raj. Okay, I guess we're live now, so I should switch over to do some programming here. Just give me 2 seconds. I'm really, really thirsty. And yeah, I really wish I had a Tesla. Cool. So hey everybody, it's Andrew Brown from Exam Pro, and today what we're going to be doing is doing more Amplify. So generally on Fridays I want to do like Cloud Journey, where I talk to people about their journeys, but because I'm having some issues getting video to work in my stream, it's very tricky. I decided to do some live streaming. I'm always trying to improve my AWS Amplify skills. What I have done is I've made this cool large Scratchpad because I have so many questions about AWS Amplify, because I'm taking a serious effort in migrating my platform, Exam Pro, if anybody doesn't know my platform yet. This platform here, and I'm trying to migrate it over from a monolith to serverless. And thanks, Matthew, for always supporting me. He's always here to help. And yeah, my chat's working now, so at least people can see some interactivity. The only thing I'm noticing is that new messages are showing up at the bottom. I don't know how to flip them, so like you can't see your own message until it goes up the stream, but whatever, one thing at a time, and we will get better every stream. But anyway, today what I want to do, and there is no end goal because I'm really just exploring this stuff myself and trying to figure it out, but I'm trying to today I'm trying to understand how authorization or authentication works with Amplify, and also a bit more about the Amplify console. If you're not familiar with the Amplify console, this is a place where you can deploy your Amplify applications. It just makes it a lot easier. And if we just were to pull up, where do you go, AWS Amplify console. And this might confuse people because there's the console and then there's actually Amplify the framework. So the framework is free to use. Anyone can use it. And you don't have to use it with the AWS Amplify console, but if you don't want to deal with continuous deployment and stuff like that, the AWS Amplify console takes care of it for you. If you weren't using it, you'd have to push it to S3 and invalidate CloudFront and do all this other stuff. But I was looking at the pricing for this thing, and it's really, really cheap. There's no reason not to use AWS Amplify console, because if you go down here, like the cost is 0.01 per build. What I have noticed is CSS DOM direction possibly. Yeah, I don't know. For the chat, it's tricky. I mean, yeah, dude, I can't even think. I was fiddling with the chat before here. I just could not figure out how to flip it. So, I mean, I could just lift this up here like that, and now that's my little cheat here. But now no one can see my little banner, but that's fine. That's the best I can do. Actually, you know what I'll do is I'm just going to adjust the chat here because I do want people to see their messages. I always think that's nice to have there. So I'm just going to actually adjust this chat really quickly here because I don't care. I'll do anything live. And then we'll just drag that back on down. There we go. That's the best I can do for now. We'll make it a little bit bigger. 700 maybe? There we go. That's better. So, I mean, that's my pragmatic solution to that. But the build time I found, like with the most bare bone application, is 3 minutes. So if we just go over here to the Amplify console, and I already have an application, and I know I've already done this, so I'll be building multiple apps, so you'll see how I actually built this out. But here's the pipeline. So you have your provision, build, deploy, verify, and the time it takes, I don't know if it shows here. If I go back, it definitely shows you how long it takes to do a deploy, but for whatever reason, it's not showing me this here. What if I go to verify? Oh, I didn't even know it did this. Oh, wow. This is new for me. I had no idea that they would generate screenshots for you in headless Chrome. So here's my website, and it's showing me what it's going to look like on all these browsers, which is really cool. I guess you don't really need one for a web browser because why would you? But that's pretty cool. One complaint I do have, which I brought up with the Amplify team, which is they don't support Ruby in their CLI. I don't think that means you can't use Ruby. I think it just means like in their CLI, because they say like choose the function runtime that you want to use. And for whatever reason, the only language that's not available is Ruby, and that's like my favorite language. And it's bizarre because the largest development community, you know, because of Ruby on Rails for like literally for a decade, and they don't bring it over. So I've asked them to add it, and they say it's not in their pipeline, and I'm just going to keep on bugging them until they add it. So hopefully we'll get Ruby in there eventually, or maybe I'll be the person that puts in the support for it. So maybe they won't officially support it, but I'll support Ruby because Ruby has to live on. But we'll just make our way back over to the console because I just kind of want to show you when you deploy, it shows you everything that's going on. And when you deploy with Amplify Console, it creates it makes a build environment with a Docker image, which is four vCPUs and 7 gigabytes of memory. So it's a beast. So that's really great. But I mean, like generally Amplify apps is just JavaScript, so it's not doing anything intense. But you can see, like, I can't imagine any app at scale like needing more than this for their Amplify apps if they build them in a micro-frontend way. Yeah, Ruby was the last to hit, but I was super excited when it came out because, like, I cannot stand using promises in Lambdas. I have this problem where when I'm using, sometimes you have to use JavaScript because for Lambdas, because certain services only support JavaScript or maybe Java. I think CloudFront's one of them where you have Lambda Edge, you can only use JavaScript functions. But if you have a promise and it prematurely executes, it just doesn't work, and you spend hours upon hours trying to debug it. And I just, like, being a developer for whatever 15 years, I cannot figure out promises to save my life. And so Ruby, yeah, it's not concurrent, but it just works. But I know how to use all languages, so I'm being a little bit picky. I shouldn't be. We should be open to all languages and just use what gets the job done. Now, if we go over to the build stage, you can see what it does. It will clone the repo. I'm hosting this on GitHub. I was going to do it on Code Commit, but it was such a pain to get it hooked up with Cloud9. I just said, forget it. And that's where I'm developing. I'm doing everything over in Cloud9 here. We're going to open up the backend here. So then it does a backend deploy, and then it does a front-end deploy. So if you were to have to build your own pipeline, I would think that you'd have to make one for the backend and the front end. So you'd have to have 2 pipelines, and I guess you could build that out in code pipeline. Would there be a case where you might want to do that? I don't know. I think, like, if you were migrating off of Amplify, so let's say you built out an Amplify application, I don't know at what point you would start leaving Amplify because it's very highly scalable and durable. But if you did, I would think that you'd have to build your own pipeline and you'd have to take care of this stuff. I always wondered, like if you have a serverless application, how do you keep that stuff in sync, right? Because, like, if you push one, is there like a period where things are broken or you have to support the last revisions? But I think that's why a lot of people are adopting GraphQL, because GraphQL, it's like you just query and you get what you want. There's no versioning of APIs. Then there's a test phase that you can have. I haven't configured it out yet, but I would imagine it runs test code. And then you have your deploy stage. And so if we want to figure out, like, how long this took to deploy, here up at the top, I deployed this yesterday, so it was at 10:57 p.m. And if I scroll on down here, it says 3. So it's not really clear what the time is because for whatever reason, it's maybe it's showing in UTC time. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a new deploy. So I'm going to make my way over to Cloud9, and here I have this, and I'm just going to put the time in for what it is right now. So right now it's 12:08 p.m. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save that. And I got to remember how to deploy. I think it is, I'm going to type Amplify. I just can't remember any of these things. And we're going to do Amplify publish, I think is. Oh, no, you know what? It's all hooked up with Git. So when you set up Amplify console, you can choose to hook it up with GitHub code commit, and that's how it's being triggered, which is really nice. And that's why I wanted to use it, because of that reason. So I'm just going to go get, I saved that file, right? So we'll do, oops, I'm not in an environment. We'll do ls, and we'll go into the exam system, and we'll do git add all. The time's updating, so I'm going to update this now to 12:09. Oops, my Mac hotkeys are messing me up. We'll do git commit. We'll just put in here like new change. I'm going to just save this here. Oh, I don't have Vim. I tried so hard to get Vim to be the default. It just will not let me do it. And then we'll just do a git push. And so now if we go back to the AWS Amplify console, it should trigger a new deploy, just like if you were setting up a code pipeline and you triggered it on that. And I don't know if this is going to happen in real time. So what I'm going to do is just click back here. And so we can see now it's provisioning. But it definitely tells you at the end of the deploy how long it takes. I just don't know why it doesn't display it here. Like, you would love to see that. I would love to see a history of my previous deploys. Maybe they're visible, I just don't see them. But if we just click around here. And this is how I learn AWS. I just jump into services and then I bug the heck out of people. like, especially at AWS, if it's the developer advocates, it's people on the team, if it's through my support, and I just rip through the docs. I just go through the docs, read as much as I can, and I just drill through this stuff because this is the best way to learn, unless I make tutorials, and that is the best way to learn, right? So, there's a few different ways. And actually, I asked James a question. James, he's a serverless advocate and he specializes right now in EventBridge. I mean, he knows a lot, but this is where his focus is. And by the way, you should follow him because he is super, super smart. And I asked a question, which was, if I had multiple AWS Amplify applications and I treat them as a micro-frontend. If you don't know what a micro-frontend is, I'm just going to type in micro-frontend here. Let's see if we can find a nice image. A micro-frontend is when you have, I'm trying to look for a good diagram, is when you have a web application and that web application has total ownership of everything. So if you had a big application and you wanted to just like break up your application, so like the subscription, like the payments page was separate, the user's profile page was separate, if the admin panel was separate, the idea is that they all have ownership of their own database. And what you end up is with a bunch of small applications, which I think is amazing because everybody that's getting into web development right now, it's so hard for them to enter companies because like you have to learn the big monolith. And if you aren't in the industry for 10 years, you're not going to learn it. So I think these micro frameworks is going to open up the industry so that even graduates from boot camps can compete because that's what they learn how to do is build small apps. So you can be successful building small apps if we can get micro frameworks to work. But anyway, the issue is that if you have a bunch of isolate databases and they have ownership of the data, you have to somehow get that data from one database to another. And that is the hard part about micro frameworks or microservices is dealing with multiple databases and also authentication across them. Those are the two things that I'm having a really hard time to solve. And so EventBridge is a service which is an event bus and it allows you to push events and then react to stuff in it. And so I was asking James, what was my question here? I said, I have a burning question about using EventBridge as a means to replicate data to multiple micro frontends that have ownership of their own DBs, but wondering if EventBridge can fill that gap. And so he says, in principle, you could publish DB changes as events from a source DB, routing through EventBridge to Lambda functions, writing to destination DBs, but there are better ways to handle DB replication generally. So it really depends on your use case. And so you can do it, but what should you do? Oh boy. Oh boy. So I really have to learn those better ways, So I wonder if this is where microservice design patterns come into play, e.g. CSRQ. Is that what it is? CSRQ? If you so the thing is like if you dig into the weeds of this, what is it? CSRQ design pattern. Okay. Oh, here it is. CQRS. And by the way, there's one thing that Azure is really good at, and they have like these nice thing for all these design patterns. This is the only I don't really like Azure that much, but I like some of their documentation. And so yeah, CQRS. Okay, so that's something, it's like, how do you do that? And so maybe I can use EventBridge if I design my app in a very restrict way. Can you link to James' YouTube channel? I think he has YouTube stuff. I don't know. Let's go find out. I'm just going to Google here. Beswick. There he is. I don't think he has his own channel because he works for AWS. So you have to oh wait, there he is. Okay, I'm gonna subscribe. I didn't know I wasn't subscribed. He doesn't. This is probably his personal channel, and there's nothing on it. But he has a lot of stuff on right on the AWS page. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have to assemble it later for you. But I think I shared some of his stuff in the AWS Developer Associate free code camp post. But really, the strategy of integrating all this stuff is really important. And so I look at James and I go, he really knows application integration, and that's key to microservices and the new type of architectures that are coming out. But I shared a bunch of his stuff all the way down here. So I made a few links. So it's like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, etc. So I would look for that article. And I can't post links in the chat. YouTube doesn't like it when I post links. It just strips them out anyway, I think. So I'll probably put it in the description later at the end of this live stream because we're getting a little bit off track here. So this, I'm not sure what I'm going to do for that, but that is a problem for later. We still need to look at authentication and a few other things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my way back to the AWS Amplify console here. And because we were doing that deploy, I wanted to see how long it was going to take. We'll go back up here. It's already done. And so I missed the time. I just can't see what the time is. It's frustrating. But I know that it takes like 3 minutes to deploy, and the reason we were talking about that was to understand the cost. So coming back here, if you are doing one deploy, it is 0.01. So let's assume that we do 100 deploys a month, which is a lot of deploys, and we're doing it, and it costs us $3 every time because the build time is 3 minutes. Then it's going to cost us $3 per app. So 100 deploys is insane. I would think that you might do like 4 deploys, 4 to 100, or like 5 to 100 deploys. So you can see that it's extremely cost effective. There's these other costs, but like, why would your app ever go beyond a gigabyte? I don't understand. Unless it's saving previous versions, which I do not know. So actually, that's another question I'm going to write down in here, and I'm just going to go here and grab this this comment here. How do I grab it? Oops, that's not it. Let's go back. Whoops. Oh, I don't know my Windows hotkeys. They're killing me here. So I'm gonna go and grab it, embed tweet. And it's so hard to grab. I'm using the Twitter app, and so it doesn't give me like a link. Maybe there's like a share button down below here. Is that share? Yes. There we go. Oh, thanks for the compliment there, Tashar. I work hard. I think my videos are okay and getting better, but I feel I have to release them anyway. I have like a hard time taking compliments because I always feel like I can do a better job. That's my problem. So James' answer to that question is yes, you can. You probably shouldn't use EventBridge this way unless based on your use case. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight that here in red. Oops, that's not it. We will go to red here, and we'll give this bold. And so now we kind of answered that one. I didn't put this in here, but like, you know, what is the cost of AWS Amplify console, right? So, and the answer is it's very, very inexpensive. So 0.01 per deploy, per build, per minute. So 100 deploys equals $3 USD. That's nothing. That's nothing. And considering like you don't have to pay for servers, right? But yeah, so I posted the tweet here, right? And if I kind of want to know what the right way is, but I don't know if James is gonna answer that for me there. That might be too much I'm asking for. You have to ask bits and pieces from everybody to get everything complete. You can't bug everybody for everything. So that's one thing. One thing I want to know is like, does Amplify Console allow you to have revisions? Like, how would you do rollbacks, right? So that's a question I have is like, how would you perform a rollback with AWS Amplify to a previous version? No idea. So that is another question I have. We'll make our way back over here. So just looking at this, I actually just haven't explored any of this yet. So if we go down to domain management here, it says you can use a custom domain for free HTTPS because it would probably be using ACM, Amazon Certification Manager underneath. So that makes sense. To provide, and if they are using CloudFront, it would be attached to that to secure friendly URLs. Register your domain with Route 53, one-click setup. I don't have a domain on my development account yet. I'm not going to register one right now because I have so many domains. I'm going to transfer it to this probably for the next stream or connect a domain to a registered third party. But what I want to know is when you add a domain, I can't do it because I don't have a domain on here, but the question, because I read in the documentation that it will overtake the the naked And then you could set it as a subdomain, because I think you could have a domain on here and then attach subdomains on here, and that would allow you to switch branches. So if you wanted a staging branch at like your test environment, you could do it on like, beta or test or staging dot whatever it is, exampro.co, and it would redirect to that. And that's what I need to know. I need to know if everything is bound to subdomains. That is one of the difficult challenges with trying to make Amplify work as micro frameworks, because generally if you had a web application, you probably want your web application. I'm just going to go down below here. But let's say I have a application like exampro.co and I have a bunch of systems. So I have that big monolith and I want to break it up into stuff. So let's say we have the authentication system. We have the funnel system. That's when people are signing up. We have the practice exam system. We have the user settings system, right? And so these are all small applications. Now, I would love it if they all just went to particular things like this. So I go auth, right? So that anything that is on the end of the domain that's auth goes there. Anything that is the funnel goes there. I'd probably have like the discussion system. It's probably like a boring stream. I'm not even coding at all. This would be like attempts. Okay. But the point is, what I'm trying to get is like, I don't like Amplify, because if it's hosted on S3, that means that you are limited to the subdomains, because you can't deploy multiple applications, at least usually you can't deploy it to subpaths in an S3 bucket. Now, could you deploy the Amplify app to an S3 bucket and then write another build server to then move it to a subdirectory in another place? Yes, but that's kind of dirty. And maybe the reason why this hasn't been architected is because nobody's actually building micro frameworks right now. And so probably that's the reason as to why, right? So it's just like, do you want to have a web app where all of these are like auth.exampro, auth, or like funnel.exampro.co, and as you're using the web app, it's switching subdomains? It feels dirty, but at the end of the day, if it works, I think I might do it. But this is one little gripe I have about it. And I was trying to see if AWS Amplify console could solve that for me, but I'm not really sure at this point. I'm going to make my way back over to AWS Amplify. And what I want to do, I'm just going to keep on exploring down here because I really haven't had time. So this is where you can override the build settings. So maybe this would be a great place to say, hey, this is where I want stuff to go. So we have one for the backend and the front end. I guess it's just a build server. So maybe it's just using code build underneath, because this looks very familiar to me. Like it just looks like code build, but it's called amplify.yaml. It's not a build spec file. So maybe there's some synergies there, but the syntax is pretty similar. You have artifacts, so that's your output directory. But artifacts usually go to an S3 bucket. And I would think, I don't know if maybe this is where we could put it. Maybe we could put it in, see where this is base directory. I wonder if we could place it into a subfolder. That's interesting. Incoming webhooks allow you to trigger a build given branch with a webhook URL. Not sure what that does. I mean, I know what webhooks are, but I'm not sure. Build image settings. Let's just look at this. Oh, so you can change the version. Nice. You can do Amazon Linux 2 and Amazon Linux 1. It's funny that they have Amazon Linux 1 here, because Amazon Linux 1 I don't think has support anymore. But I guess they threw it in there just in case if you want to have a bunch of cool stuff there. I guess you can put your own custom build image. It looks like it's going to be a Docker image. You probably have to store that in ECR. You can set out the maximum time for the build. So this is set to in minutes, so 30 minutes. I guess if you didn't want the cost to go crazy, I would probably cap. I know mine should always be like 3 minutes. So I'm going to put this at 5 minutes. That way, if something goes 30 minutes, I'm not getting billed for that build time, right? Because if this was to go for 30 minutes, like let's say something went wrong, 30 times 0.01, that would cost you 3 cents, and that's insane. It's insanely cheap. But anyway, that's what I would do. I guess you can change the Amplify CLI in here. So that would probably be available to the actual build there. And you can add some packages here. Oh, cool. So I guess you could preload some packages. So if you were using these as your front ends, I generally like to use Mithril, or I just write my own JavaScript. I know how to use React. I'm just not good at it. But I guess they have a bunch of stuff here. I've never used Cypress. I think, isn't that like a testing framework? I guess that would be the case. I don't know if the build server would be the same server for the test stage. Maybe that's another consideration. I don't know that. So I'm going to write that in my notes as well. I'm just going to make some dots. That's just my Scratchpad. So is the build server, the build build image used both for the build stage and test stage? Okay, and that's the question I have there, We go to previews. Previews offer a way to preview changes before merging a pull request. Oh, that's awesome. So imagine you had a just passed exam because of your cheat sheets. You're amazing. Thank you. Great to hear. Yeah, everyone loves my cheat sheets. This is the thing is like my competitors have like cheat sheets, but they're not really cheat sheets. It's like reading the docs. Like the whole point is that you want it to be only what you need and as quick as possible, right? So I'm always surprised. Like people don't condense them, but yeah, I give a lot of compliments to my cheat sheets, and I really appreciate you were what you said there. So for previews, I guess yeah, if you had a big team and they all pull requests, this would be great. So I guess this is where your costs could balloon out of control. But you saw that like it's very, very inexpensive, so maybe it's not that bad. I'm really curious about using that. I'm going to go to notifications here, add email notifications to notify stakeholders when a build succeeds or fail. Actually, I'd love this. So I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to say andrew@exampro.co, and we're going to do that on master. I didn't even know that a build could fail. I guess that makes sense. What would happen when a build fails? So we'll go down here and we'll say what happens. I feel like this stream is like it's not even me doing what I said I was going to do. It's just like me opening up more questions. What happens when a AWS Amplify deploy fails? And maybe this is all in the docs, but like it sucks reading through the docs. We'll make our way back here. Environment variables. So I guess these are environment variables you can pass over. That's kind of cool. Access controls. Publicly viewable. Restrict access to your branches, username and password. I'm just going to click there. Publicly viewable, restricted. So I guess like if you wanted HTTP auth, I'm just going to set this up. I'm curious here. By the way, like anyone who wants to access my little itty bitty app, you can probably access it right now. I'm just going to go over here. It is right. I'm just going to go into here. I'm just going to grab the link. And I think it's this. This is my production. It's like my development branch, but it's my production branch. So I'm just going to copy this and put this in the doc up here if you want to go look at it. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go set a password on it. So I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to say that it's restricted. I'm going to say the username is password, or sorry, like admin, and the password is going to be testing123, testing123. I'm just going to go back here. So we'll do this. We'll say admin/testing123. Basic auth. I think it's using basic auth. Let's find out. I do have no idea. I really wish that they would add AWS Amplify to the developer certification, because to me it's like critical. I really wanted to have a good Amplify workshop in the developer. It's just like I couldn't get through it, but now I can. So I might just shoot one, and then next time I redo the developer, I'll just add it in again. But anyway, let's go back to here. Did I save that? No, I didn't. Let's go there, save it. And I do not need to save that. We'll go back up here. I'm going to give it a refresh. Is it basic auth? It's basic auth. I knew it. Okay, and we'll do testing123. So there we go. So that's great. That's a great way to protect your branches. They really thought of everything when they did this. Like this, the Amplify console like could be a game changer if we can just get front ends to work. Because like I don't have to worry about continuous deployment. I can protect my branches. I can preview things. I can see like they thought of everything. It's really good. Just some UI issues that I feel like they could bring stuff up. Access logs, search and download site across log generated by each of your domain. I mean, I guess that's useful. I just wonder if it means like people hitting the website. Yeah, so here we are. We're looking here, and so this is the user agent. Does it show the IP address? I think that's the IP address, right? So yeah, it looks like we can see some stuff. We have some 403s, some 301s. 301's a redirect, right? So that's cool. I guess what would you do with that if you had access logs? I'm just like thinking from like a protection standpoint. Like could you, these logs are probably in CloudWatch. I'm curious. Let's make our way over to CloudWatch. This is how I learn, by the way. This is how I do it. I just go through everything and start digging like crazy. So we'll go over to CloudWatch because I just want to know where those logs are going. Because they also could be going to CloudTrail. And we'll go to logs. I'd prefer them to be in CloudWatch. I could do more with them here. And we have no logs here, so they must be in CloudTrail. Or maybe they're not visible to us at all. Interesting. So we'll go over to S3 here because I want to see where they are. And I have a bunch of stuff. Okay, and what we'll do, I don't need this anymore. We just delete that. Delete that. And so I'm just curious, where are these logs? So, and I have Polar, that's an old one. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. Oh boy, these are long. And exam systems is old. Sorry, I just got to clear these out here because I can't see what I'm doing, eh? We'll delete that. Whoops. I just cannot seem to get that T on there. And that one's old. I have so many. Actually, I want to keep that one because that app still exists. That's the one I did from the other stream the other day. So what, I'm going to just click into here, and I'm just curious if the logs are in here. So where's the logs? AppSync files, no. CFN templates, no. Yeah, so where's the logs? It's like a serious mystery. Because if I don't have access to the logs, how can I then do stuff with them, right? Like from a security perspective. So we'll go down here and where does the AWS, I have Grammarly, it'll correct if I say it wrong. Where does the AWS Amplify access logs go? CloudWatch or CloudWatch or S3 bucket? How would we do security analysis on them? Because that's the thing you always have to be thinking about. It's like, great, I have this service that does everything all in one, but like if I can't automate and do things around it, that could be that could give a use case as to why you wouldn't want to use it with an enterprise or a large company, because now you are putting yourself in a technical dead end, right? And they'll go, well, we can't do it because we need to be able to do X, Y, Z with it. So that is a security question, I guess. Security. And probably I should start tagging these so I can see what these are. This would be deploys. This is builds, I guess. Builds. How would you perform a rollback to a previous version? This is deploys. This is cost. When you use AWS AppSync, how do you override a single? This is databases. Okay. So now we'll make our way back here. Hey, I want to clear AWS Associate Architect. Is your video practice exam enough? I have the CCP. So I have people passing right now. It's up to you. The issue right now is that the SAA CO2 is, or SAA CO1 is expiring, right? And so all the content that I have for that is the same. You still have to learn that, but there's additional content that has been added where you might lose a few points. So I'm going to be releasing that stuff in June. So if you're studying already, just use the course I have, and then when those videos drop, then just use those, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine for this month. The major change for the Solution Architect Associate is that there's more stuff with the well-architected framework, and I'll probably be adding a micro course for that because I have to. So what becomes really important is the 5 pillars, right? So you go here. So this stuff is like, specifically this PDF here has become extremely important for the new SSA CO2. But can you pass with the old stuff? Yes. But you'll have a higher chance if you just wait a bit this month when I get the stuff out. So it's up to you. I would not stop your study. I would continue studying, okay? And one thing that people don't know that really helps you understand the well-architected framework really quickly is the well-architected framework tool. And I know this is off track here, but I'm just going to show you anyway. So I'm just going to make a new tab here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the well-architected framework tool. Okay. And I'm gonna just hit define workload. And what this does is it really helps you unveil or ask questions that the well-architected framework would have you ask and help you investigate them. But I'm not going to get into that today because I really want to focus on Amplify. It's so easy for me to get distracted, as you can tell. So, but we'll make our way back here. And so this is a concern that I have. Redirects and rewrites. Redirects are a way for a web server to reroute navigation from a URL to another. Support the following. So could I get a so even if I had to host them on a subdomain, could I point them to like app.exampro / whatever? That's interesting. That might solve this problem down here, eh? This we'll call this routing. Can rewrites and redirects point a subdomained micro-frontend to a single subdomain? So we'll look at this below here, right? Maybe I'll just make it part of this question. Now, why would you even want to do that? It's just like when everything's on the same subdomain, it makes things a lot easier, right? It makes things so much easier from a security perspective and other things. But I don't know, maybe there's other things I'm not thinking about. And by the way, if anybody's here and they want to ask me any other questions beside Amplify, this time is for you to ask me anything, right? So just consider that. It doesn't have to be Amplify. It's just me being on stream so you can talk to me, right? So I guess we went down the whole list, and we do have some nice documentation here, and they have a nice support button. But yeah, I guess I opened up more questions. But let's go back and see if we can do some code. Hopefully my Cloud9 environment is still running. This thing shuts down after 15 or 30 minutes to save me money. So, you know. So what I want to do is add authentication. This, I actually added a backend to it. So I used the default setup for it. If you saw the last live stream where I had Karam, it's pretty much the same thing. I was just doing it on my own, but I'm gonna make my way over to DynamoDB. And I wanna see if that table exists. And I have a bunch of tables here. So this is the thing is when you're using DynamoDB, with that's your backend with AWS Amplify, you're using AppSync, it'll create a bunch of tables for you. The DynamoDB team will tell you like, hey, use single page design. What that means is that if you have like a directory structure like forms, comments, and posts, which are usually separate tables in an RDS database, generally the DynamoDB team says cram them all into a single table, which sounds complicated, but is totally possible. Are there alternatives to Amplify in other cloud providers? Kind of, but not really. So if we talk about other frameworks, like another Java frameworks is called Ruby on Jets. Okay, and this one it literally uses Ruby on Rails. It is as easy as using Ruby on Rails, and it makes it so. Like, imagine you wanted a Ruby on Rails app, but you didn't want to have to pay for all that infrastructure, like running servers and moving parts. This thing's really great for that, and it shows you how it works. The only issue with Ruby on Jets is that it's still using the monolithic paradigm. And to me, it's just like if you're going to go serverless, you might as well do it the right way. And I'm not trying to bash on this project. I think it's a really cool project. But it's just like when you imagine upgrading your phone. Let's say you have a Samsung Galaxy 7 and the Samsung Galaxy 9 is out. You're not going to go to the Samsung Galaxy 8. You want to go to the 9. And so to me, this is like an intermediate step to serverless. I would still probably, like if you're starting a new project and you like Rails, I would probably use this first instead of building on a Rails app because it's still really, really good. But Ruby on Jets, if you're used to the traditional architecture of the last decade, this is the easiest way to get into serverless. Google has their own, which is Google Firebase. And it's kind of like a loose framework. It's not really the same thing. So it does make a lot of things easier. I would say it costs more. But the idea is that you have this entire developer environment with all this stuff. So authentication, hosting, cloud storage, etc. And you can tap into a bunch of stuff. The reason when I first built out Exam Pro, I actually, even though it was all AWS, I was actually going to build it on Firebase. And the reason I didn't was because Firebase is kind of like siloed from Google Cloud Platform. And the issue is that when you need to outgrow this, it's very hard to migrate later. but it's really, really, really easy for development. But it's really bad for like future growth. So that's why I don't recommend Firebase. I'm sure the GCP team and advocates will come on and say, no, Andrew, you're wrong, but I'm telling you, it's a pain. So to me, the only framework that really is doing a good job right now is the Amplify team, and the way AWS always keeps things open, where it's it's able to migrate out of it. You're not like being locked in there and going to have really expensive costs. I always think of like Heroku. Heroku is like a platform where it's like you get in there and it's super hard to, they make it so easy for you and you get some growth and it's so hard to leave. And Firebase is a little bit like that. So I would say Amplify is the best one, but those are the two alternatives. Ruby on Jets, Firebase. There's probably some other ones, but not I probably don't recommend them because I haven't heard, like, if they haven't gotten attention with me at this point, they're probably not worth looking at. So that's that, but we'll make our way back here because what I want to look at is just what was created. So we have blogs, comments, and posts. And the reason why we're seeing 3 posts, 3 comments, and 3 blogs is because I've actually created this over 3 times over, right? So I can't really tell which is which. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here, and I'm just going to try to see which one these are. There should be some kind of like handle for this somewhere here. Maybe we'll go to general. Here it is, D1W1X. Such a great name. So the one is, which one is it? I'm trying to figure out which is it that is my actual application. No, that's the production branch. I don't think that's the name of the app. What is it? D1W. Does anybody see it? Is it just me? There's RCQO. I know that's not it because it's the one I did the other day with Karam. And so which database is it? What do you do when there's that many? I don't know. So let's make it over to Cloud9. Let's see if we can figure it out here. I can't tell. Maybe it's in our configs here. I don't know the configs too well here. Let's check the exports. No. Let's look at the backend maybe. No. Let's look at the metadata. Maybe the metadata will tell us something. API. No. Hosting, no. I mean, it should be API, right? Actually, you know what? Let's go check out AppSync because all this is being done through AppSync. So yeah, you can see I have multiple systems. So maybe it's mapping up with that. RCQO, and yeah, it is. Look, NQ. So that's interesting. So the Amplify hash is not the same as the AppSync hash, which is not the same as the, I mean, this one is the same as that one. So now the question is, which one is it? It's this one here, NQ. And the one I don't need is this one. This one's old. So what I'm going to do is I thought I deleted that app. So maybe Amplify doesn't delete the underlying infrastructure. I could have swore I deleted that. Amplify. Yeah, I definitely deleted it. So I think when you delete an app here, it just leaves DynamoDB intact and stuff, which is not a big deal because those don't cost you anything because they're not being utilized. But that's not good because like then I have to do cleanup, right? So we're gonna go back here, and the one I don't need is this one, 2ZEG. So here's a question: if I delete this one, can I delete this? How do I delete this? And oh, checkbox here. Will it get rid of the tables? Probably not, because I think because they can be decoupled, and that's the nice thing about AWS is like you have to do a bit more cleanup. Unfortunately, it's not a big deal. So I'll hit delete, and we will put this in here. Okay, and so I think these tables will still hang around. Yeah, so I'll have to manually remove that. It's not a big deal. So the one that we're keeping is RCQ and NQWs, and the ones we want to get rid of is 2ZE. So we're going to delete this table. Yeah. And it's going to delete. Oops. Delete. Delete. And then we'll do this one. Delete. Okay. I'm just going to go check my Twitter. I'm curious if I got a response. response yet? No. Oh, he's asking questions. So those ones, that's gonna make it a little bit easier. RCQO is my old one, but I'm just gonna go in here and take a look at the table. And so the table's really simple. There's an ID. I haven't written anything to it. The reason I wanted to look at these tables, I just wanted to look at them. I wanted to see what else was set up on them. Nothing super exciting. I guess the question is, yeah, I set up API, but do we have authentication? So I'm going to go back to, oh, I have a question here. Please, can you do a comprehensive video for beginners on Cloud9 and SageMaker? Anyway, thanks for the great help. I do so many videos on Cloud9, but for SageMaker, it's coming. So my plan is for June is AZ900, SysOps Associate, Refresh the Solution Architect, and then right after that, Machine Learning and Security. So when I do the Machine Learning one, that's when I'll be doing SageMaker. And so it won't just be SageMaker, it'll be all of machine learning on AWS. But I might prioritize that one so that people can watch that sooner. SageMaker is, you can spend a lot of time there. Right? So what I'm gonna do here is, I wanna look at the authentication. I wanna see how it works. Because when I set this up, I chose Amazon Cognito as the authentication, and it created a user pool for me. All right, and it's using AppSync. So I'm curious how this authentication works. And that's the trick, is you always want to dig into these things and try to really understand what's happening behind the scenes. Because if you had to manually set it up, how would it work, right? So I know that the Amazon Cognito pool exists. I'm just going to go over here. We're going to make our way over to Cognito because I have no idea what settings it gave it. We'll go to user pools. This one's old, so again, I have to keep on deleting these old resources, but that's a good thing. That's a good thing that it doesn't get rid of it, that we're not being locked into something. And so that will take some time to delete, a couple of minutes. I don't need this one anymore, so delete that pool. Okay, but we need this one. So I'm just looking at this here. I'm just curious. I set it up for email. Okay. So it's set up to email. Once you set this, you can't change it later on, see? So you have to really decide when you're doing Cognito what you want. This is a test app. I'll probably redo this when I actually do the application. But I want to see the app integrations here. So no domain, no custom domain, that's fine. App client settings. Don't steal my IDs. Not that I'm doing anything with them right now. And so what I wanted to see what was checkboxed here, because what is checkboxed here is what you can do. There's some other things down here, or is that just the client? Oh, we have the web client and the client down here. Yeah, there's usually like codes in here. I don't remember where they are here. Because my end goal is not just to also have like micro-frontends, but it's critical that I have it with Cognito so that I have single sign-on. If you are building out a web application, it's like you really got to get authentication right, and SSO like just opens you up to so many enterprise opportunities. So like with Exam Pro, if I just had SSO, then I could sell to businesses in bulk, right? Because then they could just bring in their entire team on board because they're all using Active Directory or whatever they're using. But back to just Cognito here, just clicking around, looking for stuff. I'm just checking the time. 12:48, I would say 30 minutes, but I can do my streams as long as I want. I probably will stop at 1 here. Analytics. Just trying to find. Well, I can't remember what I'm looking for, but that's fine. So now my question is, how does AppSync authenticate with Cognito? Go to settings here. Here it is. So that's how it works. So default authorization mode, Cognito user pool, US East 1, US East 1, allow API client regex. So I guess my thought is like, is API gateway being used at all? Because if you use AppSync, then I guess you wouldn't need API gateway. Is that the case? So let's make our way over to API Gateway. When you set up your Amplify app, you have the choice between REST and GraphQL. So I have one here, but I don't think this is for the one that I think it's for. This is for what? Oh, it says dev here. It says items. This is for, I set this up before. So I think the case is, yeah, this is a previous app. So when you create an Amplify application, you choose either GraphQL or REST or API, which is based on API Gateway. So I guess you wouldn't need API Gateway, which is really nice because one concern about API Gateway is the future cost of it, because it probably would get really, really expensive if you had like a business to consumer application, a B2C. Think of like Facebook or anything where a lot of people can sign up. And so a lot of the times the strategy is like you use API Gateway, and then with the REST version, which is more costly, it's very cheap for smaller, medium-sized applications. But generally people then go, okay, this is too expensive. I'm going to move to application load balancer. And then like if you have all that rich functionality there, you lose it. Or you can move to HTTP. So that's one of the issues with serverless is like you have to determine like what is your workload going to be, because that's going to determine whether you use REST, HTTP, application load balancer. But I guess GraphQL is like your fourth option. So that's pretty cool. So, I mean, if that's what it's doing, I guess what we need to do is we actually need to hook up some kind of action, because then we need to inspect to see what the cookie is doing. Because I want to know if the cookie, or sorry, so there's a JWT token that is probably being generated by Cognito and being passed around between API or between GraphQL, or sorry, AppSync and the client-side application. And what I want to know is it storing it in the local storage or is it storing it in a cookie? Now I asked Natter on, and if anyone doesn't know who Natter is, you should look him up here, because he's like the AWS Amplify person here. We'll just go. I had like a bad habit of pronouncing his name wrong. But anyway, if you want to know more, like if you have questions outside the Discord, by the way, I'm in the Discord here as well. I sent the link there. But if you're on Twitter, he's pretty good at responding for stuff, and he's like the Amplify expert and developer advocate for that. But yeah, he said that it's stored in local storage. And JWT tokens being stored in local storage is generally a bad thing for web applications, because you don't want people to be able to manipulate your JWT tokens, because that's going to allow them, I don't know if that'd be called XSS, like cross-site scripting attack, but that would allow people to compromise and gain access to things that they shouldn't have. So generally, JWT tokens for the web application side should be stored in cookies. And cookies, you can set headers. So a cookie can be created server-side, and you can put within it saying HTTP only, secure, so it can't be tampered with. Now, it's visible so people can see it, but they can't tamper with it, so that avoids that issue. But then you have the issue of CSFR attacks. And CSFR attacks is cross-site something. It means that somebody is trying to run a script on another site to impersonate or abuse authentication. And so what you can do is you can make a CSFR token, which is embedded into your application. And I think Amplify does that. So that's what I need to find out, if it protects against that. But the other issue is that if it does store it in cookies, everybody says that storing JWT tokens as a session for cookies is a bad idea, because JWT tokens are so heavy that they can cause, like maybe in old browsers or something like that, they can cause HTTP errors. I don't know what it is, if it's like a 403 or something, but it's not recommended. So it's like, I want to use serverless, but I want to be like micro-frontend serverlesses, but it's so hard to solve the authentication part. Or maybe it's not. There's too much conflicting information out there, and you just start going in circles. But anyway, we'll go back here. And so we can see that our API is hooked up there, and we have Cognito authentication. So I guess what I need to do is I need to start writing some code. And I did this the other day with Karam, but it was with the API version. So it was just passing around tokens. So I have no idea how to do this. So let's make our way back to our application here. And we don't have any JavaScript, so I guess I'll have to install Webpack or something. Man, I just feel like I talked this entire session. I didn't do anything. And so if we want to install Webpack, I haven't done this in a while, but I think it's like MPI install Webpack CLI. I'm going to make this a bit bigger. I realize this is super, super small. Just when I'm like working on it by myself, it's easier to do. I'd probably be using Visual Studio Code because you can do code server. It's just I need to set that up a bit more. I'm trying to find the settings here so you can actually see my screen. Where are ya? Themes. Nope. Settings. I like do this like so many times per day, and I just can't seem to remember where it is. Oh, maybe the editor? Come on, where are you? You think it'd be under themes. Terminal. Okay, user settings, terminal. I'm never gonna remember this. I'm just gonna bump this up a little bit to 18. And then I'm gonna bump this up to 18. Sorry. Okay. So I think I need to install the Webpack CLI. Well, first of all, I need to initiate Webpack. So I think it's like npm init -y. And so that creates me a default package.json. And then I'm gonna need the npm install Webpack CLI. Don't know if I need that as a save dev. I always forget. You know what we'll do? We'll look at Amplify has these instructions. I'm just going to look at theirs. Getting started. So I need to get just started here. Eh? So you go here and you go to JavaScript. They should have one for plain. Not done. Look, there's Natter. He's everywhere. We don't need that. We don't need that. Setting up a full stack project. So they manually create the Webpack config. So, okay, so it is a dev dependency. So we need Webpack, Webpack CLI, copy Webpack plugin. I don't know if I need that. Webpack dev server, we might need that. So we'll do Webpack and Webpack CLI first. I try to always install the least amount of stuff because I feel like it gets confusing really quick. So I was right about this. I don't know if it's save dev and dev matter. I think you can save them wherever you want. I'm gonna put it in save dev. So we'll do that. And I realized I could have done Webpack CLI space Webpack. That would have been faster. I'm just gonna do them one at a time because I'm like that. It's out of habit. And we'll go here and we'll grab this one. Okay. And I'm gonna probably do a hard stop here in 3 minutes. So we'll get that installed. I feel like I didn't really achieve what I want to do. We basically did a huge walkthrough of the console and asked more questions. So I think next stream probably will be me doing authentication. But I just want to get a bit of the setup here. So we'll probably need this as well. So we'll just go up there because I'm going to need some way to run the local server. And you know what? I think that's pretty much it I'm going to do for today. So yeah, I guess we didn't make a lot of progress, but hopefully you're following along. You learned a bit about micro frameworks. We learned about some of the squishy questions that we need to find out about Amplify. You could see how some of these things connect. Next time I do this, I'm definitely going to make sure that we can get through authentication and find out what is going on with authentication Amplify, because I just have no idea. I really need to answer those questions. So thank you for joining the stream. If you want to, well, there's nothing, well, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just rambling. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you for joining, and I will see you another time. When it will be, I don't know. Maybe I'll do another one next Friday. I would like to do a Cloud Journey next Friday. If I get my live streams better organized, I might end up doing 2 or 3 a week. That's what I'd like to do. But right now I'm just doing one a week, and I'll just do ones at random. So, but yeah, thank you for joining in, and I am out. you.